It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. This is the C block, the Charlie block. We start this around 7:40. I know we're way late this morning. 7:46 right now. And the date is June 16th. I want to keep saying May, John. I'm still living back in May. What's my problem, other than the obvious?
No, Brad, I don't think you have any problems. I think that's an effect of your gallbladder. Brad, if people want to go back and hear Brad's top 3 from today, is there a domain where they can find that?
bradstop3.com. Yes, thanks, John. bradstop3.com. It's right there. Okay, John, can I, and I have to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to, get your sympathy, but I wasn't 100% on Friday because I was suffering through my apparent gallbladder attack, which went away as I got closer to the hospital. That's like, it's like your car. Your car misfires and the check engine light goes on and you go, I got to take it to the shop. And you get to the shop, you get 10 miles away from the shop and the check engine light goes off and the car starts to run real well. And you go, well, I had a check engine light and we'll bring it back when it's actually doing that. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of embarrassing. Okay. Can I ask, did I talk about the Lutheran Church again with my battle with KFUO? Did I talk about this on Friday?
You talked about them. It wasn't Friday, but it was earlier in the week. You talked about the letter that you sent?
Yes. Okay.
You claimed that 2 radio engineers somehow saw it on the FCC website, I guess.
3 guys.
And congratulated you.
That's
and then you
right.
went into detail about your complaint.
They thought it was funny because I said in my closing statement in my FCC complaint, I said that it's the right thing to do and the godly thing to do.
Yes. And Brad, by the way, if people go to the FCC website, where did your friends find this complaint?
Well, if you want to find it, I'll tell you, not the FCC website. The easy place to find it is, it's a little bit complicated. Go to, and this is a great source if you're a radio nerd, fccdata.org, fccdata.org. And it'll ask you for call letters. Just put in KSLQ. It'll take you to our page. And if you go way down at the bottom, there's pleadings down at the bottom. And if you look way down at the bottom, you'll see the most recent ones, which is all the FCC activity. And if you look at the 2 bottom ones on there, they have an orange triangle next to them. And if you click on the orange triangle, that takes you to the page which has literally all the documents that are filed. They're literally scanned into the system, and you can read them exactly as I filed it with the FCC. You can go look at that. Okay. But see, here's what's interesting, John. And the reason I want to talk about that is that I have figured out the issue with religious broadcasters, okay? And you're going to laugh when I tell you this story. Can I lay this out to you?
Yeah, please do.
Long time ago, when I was working with Alan Barklage, who taught me how to fly helicopters, Alan Barklage was making like peanuts. He was working full-time for the station, flying traffic morning and afternoons, and he was getting paid $14,000 a year, okay? $14,000 a year. And I was trying to help him. I go, well, Alan, why don't you go to work for St. Louis County? They got their helicopter division. Or maybe the FBI, they've got their helicopter division. You're a veteran. You could probably, get in training and stuff like that. And he said something to me at the time which didn't make any sense. And he looked right at me and he said, Brad, the St. Louis County Police doesn't hire helicopter pilots. They take police officers and make them helicopter pilots. And I said to him, okay, what's the difference? And he said to me, when you're a helicopter pilot, first and foremost, you just want to fly. And you'll fly doing anything. If people want you to drop, and he didn't say this, but if people want you to fly over a thing in a helicopter and they're going to pay to drop turkeys out, like the WKRP thing, that's what you do because you love to fly and that's your life and you fly. And you're a police officer second. And he says, if you work for the county police, you're first and foremost trained as a police officer, and then they teach you how to fly. And you are primarily a first and foremost police officer, and secondarily a helicopter pilot. Okay, over the weekend, I was thinking about my dear departed friend Alan Barklage, and I was thinking about this thing, and I thought to myself, okay, I understand why these religious broadcasters are buttheads. And you know why that is, John?
Why is that?
Because they are religious people first and they're broadcasters second. You get what I'm saying?
So you're saying that they put what they believe to be their godly mission above anything that involves radio operation or a transmitter or a signal or infringing on someone else's airspace.
Right. And the crazy thing about this is, I'll give you a perfect example. We share a frequency with Westplex 107.1. The guy that used to own the station was a nice guy, Sam Stem up in Alton, and I think Nick, I can't remember Nick's last name, but Nick is in the process, either he has bought it or he's in the process of buying the stations from Sam Stem. Okay, we have a couple little minor interference issues. We go back and forth. I can pull up my phone right now and I can dial Nick's number. And if he's not busy, he'll probably answer. And I'll say, Nick, have you done anything different with your signal? I mean, because I'm getting a little bit more interference in downtown St. Charles, blah, 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 blah. And he'll go, Brad, let me check into that. And in other words, we're broadcasters. We know that is, and I think he subscribes to the theory that I do, as the tide rises, so do all boats. But when I go to the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and first they won't have a meeting with me, and then when they finally have a meeting with me, because I file against them, the FCC, have a meeting with them, which goes on for 2 hours, and as the meeting ends, he says, yes, we will change the pattern of our antenna, and we'll put together a pattern that you're really going to like, and they don't do it. He's being a religious person first and a broadcaster second. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, sure, it does.
So the idea, and I think more importantly, though, his mindset is, and the religious broadcaster's mindset is, my job of being a religious broadcaster is the most important job in the world because I am spreading the word of God. I'm talking about Jesus. I'm talking about all these important things you should know as a Christian. And that is more important than Brad and John doing a talk show.
Yeah, I get it. Sure.
Than Armstrong and Getty. And there is no cooperation. Now, the interesting part of this is that when I was in this meeting back in January, I tried to I want to say come down to the level, but I would say, now that I understand this, I would go up to their level and I say, by the way, I am a pastor and I have my own church. And you know what? I realized that was a horrendous thing to do because why?
Yeah, that's a terrible idea because they're probably serious about their faith and people that mock it and belittle it by getting an online pastoral document and pretending that they're actually a person of the Lord is probably offensive to them.
Wrong, John Combest. Think about it for a minute. What is one of the number one causes of battles? And we see it right now between
religion.
Exactly. Hold on, I get a cough. You have a nation in the Middle East that is the Jewish state, is Israel, okay? And you have the bordering countries who are, for the most part, Muslim, Arab, whatever. And spoken in the constitution of the Hamas constitution that governs the Gaza Strip, it essentially calls for the elimination of Jews, okay? So they come right out and say that. So what did we have years ago, if you remember your history? Huge problems in United Kingdom where the IRA and the Protestants were shooting and killing each other, blowing each other up because the Protestants said, our religion's the best, and the Catholics said,
no. Catholics said, so tie that back. I think I got us off track by making a simple statement, Brad. Why was it a bad idea to mention your pretend online thing with the KFUO people?
That made it worse because of the fact that I'm not a Lutheran. And more importantly, if you know the whole crazy why it's the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, it's a spinoff within the church, and you read this all the time now. United Methodist Church is having all these problems. All these churches are having internal problems. Look at the Catholic Church. I mean, the Catholic Church, you and I, both North County guys, I had this discussion with someone over the weekend, and they told me about their parents who religiously, and maybe that's the wrong word to use, but on a regular basis, even though they were young, raising their family, and expenses were high, they had very little room in their budget, their father wrote a check to the Catholic Church every week for 15%. Isn't that tithing? Is tithing?
Tithing is usually 10%, but maybe this gentleman went above and beyond.
Okay, tithing was 10%. Okay, every single week he wrote a check. So if he made, back in the day, if he made $300, he sent
I get it.
$30 to the Catholic Church, which $30 could have gone to, buying some new clothes for the kids.
A lot of frivolous stuff or wine and cigarettes. Yeah.
Well, in this case, these were upstanding, citizens. They wouldn't do that kind of stuff. And then the church scandal hit with the choir boys and the altar boys, and the whole bit is this particular person essentially said, and I don't know how many times I've heard this exact same story. Maybe you've heard it from some of your Catholic friends. They said, my dad and mom, not only did they ever write a check to the Catholic Church again, they never went to church again. They never went to Mass.
Yeah, I think I've known a lot of people for whom the notion that all their money was used to pay off little boys who got touched.
Right. And the idea being is that once again, there's one of my phrases. You didn't say that earlier. You say, what was the phrase you said I used? You said,
Here we go again.
Here we go again. Once again. The idea being is when I said I'm a pastor, that would be like me going into a meeting with a bunch of Arabs who owned an Arab religious station and say, hey, I'm a Jew. And they go, well, we're not going to help this guy at all. Matter of fact, we're going to crank up our power and give him more interference. We'll show that guy.
Yeah, I think it would be like, Brad, you've started going to the gym. And I think it would be like someone, if you ran into a trainer who was certified by the American Council on Exercise or something like that, like a legitimate place, and then you said, oh, I'm a fitness professional too. And you said, what? It'd be like, oh, I got an online degree in Tai Chi. Yeah, I took a 1-day course. See, you and I are both fitness professionals. So for you to claim that your online pastor thing is the same as people who actually take religion seriously and have done real study, I think they're probably more offended by that than the fact that you're of a different sect, so to speak.
John, can I blow a hole in your argument?
Yeah, please do.
There was this guy who...
Oh, his name was Jesus. And He said, Brad, so other than wasting a lot of time and money that you should be using to sell radio ads, what's a good outcome of the KFUO thing? Like, what do you expect to happen?
Nothing's going to happen.
Or do you just want to be in a protected document where 2 people in the country send you positive affirmation and then you waste time fighting with them?
No, because the problem is that the FCC is going to, find in their favor. I mean, it's 2 different things. It's, what do they call it? The letter of the law, the spirit of the law. The letter of the law is, are they doing things legally? Yes, they are. The spirit of the law is, are they doing things ethically? No, they're not. And once again, I told you the story is they've got another station with a transmitter right at the corner of, there's a big tower, the corner of St. Peter's, Cottleville Road and Central School Road. It's another frequency, 92.7, that's transmitting the exact same program. And plus, these are all satellite translators of their main channel, which is an 850, which covers the entire St. Louis area with a city-grade signal. So in other words, they could, and remember, when I first talked to this guy, Gary Duncan is the guy's name, KFUO, when I first talked to him, he told me the reason they bought the 104.5 translator is the transmitter sits in downtown St. Louis, and they did not have good coverage in the Metro East. And this gave them a signal that covered, the Madison County and specifically St. Clair County, Fairview Heights, Collinsville, Edwardsville, Belleville, Swansea, places like that, O'Fallon, Illinois. It gave them a signal it covered, which it does. So in other words, the idea being is they've already got another transmitter, and they could very easily say on their top of the RAD, you're listening to KFUO. And they say, and we have two different stations on FM. If you're in the Westplex, you can listen to 92.7. If you're in downtown St. Louis or the Metro East, you can listen to 104.5. And if they put a directional signal and protected me, things would be good. But they're not going to do it because you know why?
Because according to you, religious broadcasters are buttheads.
God has told them that they should hold the line. God has told them.
Yeah, I like that. So, to answer my question then, Brad, are you gonna continue pursuing this to just for the sake of standing on principle, or are you going to move on to something more productive?
John, I think I'm going to issue one more letter, and I'm going to put about 10 Bible verses in there, proving my point.
Nice. That'll really show them.
The hell with FCC regulations.
It'll feel good, and you'll get positive affirmation from two people who actually read the stuff.
I'll put it.
But other than that, it's not going to really do anything.
Under John 3:16, you should acquiesce to my demands, and under Leviticus 46 of Do 2 or whatever.
Brad 3:16 says I just wasted a bunch of time. That's a good Bible verse. Now, Brad, have you tried entering? I know you gave up on according to AI 2 weeks ago because you have a shiny new object. Have you tried asking, according to AI, what you should do about a radio signal interference?
I did.
Your last post, by the way, is May 30th, so you gave up on that after about 6 weeks.
But what's interesting about it is there's things I haven't put up there yet. I've done a lot of AI, but I haven't posted anything.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Do you put the Brad and Bronjon show up there? Brad, I'm excited to see the new AI shiny object.
I finished a course last night. I'm now teaching on AI. I'm teaching.
Oh, and is it like a pastoral? Is it another online pastoral degree? Are you going to be a pastor of AI?
No.
Here's how you use it. You enter words in a chat GPT and you post it online without reading it. The book, according to Brad.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, very good. Is it just contributing to a bunch of online sludge and brain rot? Of course. Does it give us something to do besides make money? Yes.
Hold on a minute. I just got a review. Oh, St. Louis Magazine. We listened to the Brad and John show. It's an excellent show for brain rot and sludge. So see, it's working, John.
See, Finsky already knows what's up.
Right. Brain rot and see, that's what we should rename the show instead of Brad and John. It's the brain rot and sludge show, okay?
Now, Brad, you would be, I know that we're over time here, but I'll be a Brad Hildebrand and not care. You should probably invest in one of your fruitless pursuits today. One of the things you should do is look up Italian brain rot, because Italian brain rot is all the rage among the youth today.
John, let me tell you one thing. You and I come from different backgrounds. You're a corporate guy. I'm an entrepreneur. The head of Matsushita Industries, who brought it to, he's no longer
And you know
around.
what he said, Brad? He said, you have 10,000 ideas, and one of them's going to make money. And I'm going to buy a new domain a month and then give up on it, but one of them's going to make me money.
No, he said, success is 98% failure. The idea being is that you fail.
You talked about it many times on the show. Go ahead, Brad.
You fail and you fail. Well, look at Thomas Edison. How many different filaments did he try before the light bulb worked?
He did. He bought a lot of useless domains that he gave up on after 2 weeks too, didn't he?
Look at Elon Musk. You know what one of the mottos of SpaceX is?
Watch Whistling Diesel all day and don't sell radio ads.
Fail fast. The idea being is
I heard that in corporate America nearly 20 years ago, Brad. Way to go.
Fail fast because of the fact you don't want to be well, let's test it again and we've got to test it 42,000 times. It's like the old example of engineers when they develop something in a lab, the CEO has to come in and say, "Okay, it's fine the way it is. We're going into production." We got to tweak it a little bit more. No, it's fine. We can do revision E, B, and C, and D down the road, but we're building the damn thing, and we're starting right now. To a certain extent, every auto manufacturer puts a car out on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. At 803, you're right, Brad. At 803, I agree with you totally. And that's how we got to water displacement 40, a.k.a. WD-40, which is what you apply to your gallbladder to keep having to go back to the hospital.
I know.
It's 803.
I use WD-40 as deodorant. That's what I use, which keeps away, the nasty smells. Okay. Bye, John.
Bye, Brad.